we're very resident service focused. And so we have a 16-person and growing resident service staff. We operate through the racial equity, diversity, and inclusion lens. We're always working to promote opportunity and stability of our residents. We're resident-centered, trauma-informed. And we've developed these robust resident services kind of across all spectrums. And lately, we've been focused on adult health and wellness. And we just opened a senior community where we've been sort of developing and fine-tuning the programming for our seniors, which is to the amazing benefit of Crystal House 6, because we'll have a pretty well-defined program as we move forward. Next slide, please. So getting back to the project, so like I said, Crystal House 6 is delivering the first phase on a multi-phase project. This is in Crystal City, and Crystal House 1 and 2 are existing buildings. They're the sort of funky Y-looking shaped buildings in the center of this drawing here. The site is between 22nd Street South, 18th Street South, South Eade Street, and South Fern, very close to the metro station. So Crystal House 6 on the right-hand side of the screen will be the first to deliver. This is an 80-unit building, but overall across the site, there's 5 new buildings. There will be rental buildings for sale, family, senior. In total, there's around 844 new units. That's approximate because not every phase has been completely designed out yet. And the affordability ranges are from 30% to all the way up to 80% for sort of that workforce housing. There's market rate housing, which the market would dictate for those portions. And so this will all deliver out in phases through the year 2030. Part of the project will deliver 2 separate parks. There's one in the middle where it says Park 1, and then one on the corner of South Fern and 22nd. So those will be privately owned and maintained, but available to the public and also incorporated into the design of the entire site. And so what we're doing is we're essentially building all of these buildings and new public spaces on what is today surface parking for the vehicles of Crystal Houses 1 and 2. They have underground parking garage already for both buildings. And so in addition to delivering all of these new buildings, we're also going to be building replacement parking for the parking that we're taking. And then we also build parking for the new residents as well. I won't get into all the phasing details, but if people have questions, we can certainly come back to that. Next slide, please. So zooming back in on Crystal House 6, like I said, this is an 80-unit building. It is designed affordable for seniors, mostly 1-bedroom units, so 71 of those are 1 bedroom. We do have 9 2-bedroom units for a total of 80 units. The lobby and the overall design for the building has been very senior focused. And so all of our amenity spaces, we're thinking through, those resident services that we do and what the programming looks like. And so what they wanted was a large community room that was divisible. So we've designed that into the plan. That gives resident services the opportunity of having multiple events at the same time, or events that maybe need breakaway rooms or private meetings and so on. Pretty typical for a multifamily building. We have a gym. This will be senior focused gym. We also have designed a wellness room. And so that's like a small, really like a doctor office type space for visiting doctor, but can be used for all kinds of things, blood pressure checks, immunizations, what have you. So we have a dedicated space for that as well. We've got lounge spaces. We have 2 patios, which we kind of lovingly refer to as the front and back porch. And the back porch has a barbecue. And then in addition to the management office space, that's pretty typical with multifamily, we also have a resident service office space. And so that's built into the design as well. And we are striving for sustainability. This will be a Earthcraft Gold certified project. Next slide, please. So this is giving you a view at the corner as you come onto the site. And we have included a pickup drop-off area that's covered. And that wasn't part of the original design, and we had to fight really hard to keep it, but we thought it was really important for our seniors. If there's a weather event, that they have a covered space to be, getting in and out of their rides, and just for people, for visitors and whatnot. So that's something that we really fought to include in the design. That was a change from the original approved plan. And then the front porch is just a great place. It's really designed for, kind of watching the comings and goings, or waiting for guests. And you actually have a vantage from that front patio of both. There's another entrance on further down 18th Street, as well as the pickup drop off. Next slide, please. So this is across the street looking back, and then you can see the existing Crystal House Tower behind the project. And it was designed really to kind of attach itself in some ways to that architecture, but also update and sort of modernize. So the idea is to blend and match, but not be the same. Next slide, please. And so that's just another shot you can see, just sort of the square on view. Next slide, please. And so this is that other entrance that I had mentioned. So we have, this is more of a just sort of pedestrian entrance, and then that connects to the central elevator core of the building. Next slide, please. And then this is further along 18th Street, looking back at the building from that vantage. Next slide, please. So you can see here, and hopefully this is readable. I know that these plans can be tricky, but so on the left-hand side where you see the two double doors coming in, that's that pickup drop-off area. And then just below that is the divisible community room space. So that can be 3 separate spaces, or it can be opened up to include one space for one large event. And then that's got access to that front patio. And then also if something's going on and you want patio access, we're kind of working on a different design where you have a better access through there, so that events can go on and people can still use that patio. Large lobby space in the middle. The mail room, which is sort of a social activity, has been designed probably much larger than you would see for a typical 80-unit building. So we kind of see that as an engaging space. And then just above that is the management office, where you have leasing, property management, maintenance supervisor office, and then their filing rooms and spaces that are typical for an apartment building. And so from back down past the mailroom is the central corridor, and the site is a little bit of a slope, and so there's some topography changes. And instead of having any stairs, we've eliminated all stairs and integrated all of our ramps into the corridors, just to kind of make it feel, as accessible and welcoming to everyone as possible. We've actually, there's a staircase that's shown here. We've eliminated that. That's at the rear patio. The patio is now only accessible from the building, so it's just more patio space has been given back by removing the stairs. But to the left of where the mouse pointer is there, that's the wellness room, and to the right of that is the gym. And then at the bottom of that hallway is that pedestrian access. And so right in the center are the elevator, that's the core. And then you've got that office right off of that corridor. That's the resident service office, which is immediately adjacent to a business center for residents to use computers, do printing. And we found that that's really helpful for the resident services to be immediately adjacent to that, so that anybody who's having technical issues has somebody very close by to help out. So that's getting into the weeds a little bit, but towards the end we can come back and I can answer any questions on that one. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll take a look at just sort of the typical unit floor plan. So it's a lot of 1 bedrooms. And so these are 2 what looks almost identically. But so on the left, you have just a typical universal design, which all the units will be universal design. 8 of them will be accessible units. And so you see that adaptation between just a typical universal design and then the accessible on the right. And so the accessible brings with it a roll-in shower. And then, of course, you've got, the rotation circles where you can rotate a wheelchair in and out of the spaces. So you've got the walk-in closet there that doesn't dead end, and you've got the bathroom, which is, accessible. And Kevin, is there anything else in particular you want to maybe call to attention on the floor plans in terms of the differences or the accessibility?
Yeah, in terms of accessibility, I think one of the things that's important to point out is that we have side by side washer and dryer so that they're fully accessible for someone in a wheelchair. All the appliances are fully accessible and with front controls on the stove and just lots of reachability features to help people with disabilities.
Yeah, and
Oh,
that's a go ahead.
I was going to mention one other thing. The balconies are also fully accessible, all of them, whether they're in a Type A and C unit or not. They're all fully accessible by wheelchair.
Great point. And I'd like to, I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's not typical for affordable housing to have washer and dryer in each unit. So that's pretty special and unique about this property is that we're putting them into each and every unit, which is something we wanted to do. And we also, balconies are not always typical. And so not every unit has a balcony, but we worked really hard to put as many balconies into the property as possible. So just a couple of unique additions there as well. And that's actually the last slide. I saw somebody had a comment in the chat. So access to the building by non-residents. That's an excellent question. Okay, so during the regular office hours, the doors are unlocked and they can come in, and both accesses are visible either by resident services or by management staff. So there's just sort of an immediate access that way. Otherwise, there would be just a very typical, like the call box type setup for after hours. There is, I didn't show this, but there's underground parking underneath. And so that's accessible through the elevators. You just, park underneath, take the elevators up. And so that's another way. And then also the way that it's working around the building is it's sort of a more of a new urban type setup where there's sort of more of a street grid with on-street parking, kind of going away from the suburban, surface parking lot type setup. So helping them live beyond housing is sort of the next question. So like I said, we have resident services and they go above and beyond and do all kinds of amazing things. During COVID, there was a lot of eviction relief and protection, rent support. There's been just ongoing. Really, our resident services looks at like what the residents' needs are and tries to tailor that programming to the need. So, like I said, we were fortunate that we've already opened a senior project recently, and so we're really fine tuning what that will look like for this building. Good acoustics, no echo. So I would let Kevin address the acoustics in the community room. That's something I wouldn't know about it just yet.
Sure, I can address that. We're still working through the details of it, but anytime we have residential living units over top of an amenity space, we treat the ceiling, very specially to assure that it goes well above and beyond the acoustical requirements. It's normally a 50 IIC and a 50 STC for impacts and sound coming through the units. Most of the sound that we are concerned about in this type of scenario, amenity below residential, is the transmission upward of the sound. So the ceilings typically get treated with sound isolation devices that the drywall is mounted to, and in its simplest form, it's resilient channels with neoprene isolation, extra layers of drywall, and acoustical batting on those floors. On the floor above, we have gypcrete topping. Actually, over these amenity areas, we don't have gypcrete topping. We have 12 inches of concrete because it's a transfer slab. And we also have acoustical mat beneath the floor installation within the residential units. The STC should be upward north of STC of 60, which is very soundproof.
Yeah, and that's just something that we're benefiting based on the design, right? So when Kevin said the slab, it's the first floor is actually concrete with a podium above it, and then everything's wood frame built on top of that. So it kind of benefits a little bit from that design in terms of soundproofing.
Do we have any questions? Linda?
Hi, good morning. Thanks a lot for all the commitment of APA. I'm delighted to see this property in the plan. Could you describe a little bit for me what the bathroom and the units that are universal design, is it a roll-in shower, a step-in shower, or what have you got going on in the bathroom there?
You want me to take that, Danny?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, the universal design just has it's very similar to, if you're familiar with it, an ANSI B option A bathroom is what the standard requires, which is a little bit of extra space around the tub and provisions for grab bars for getting in and out of the tubs. Universal design does not require installation of grab bars throughout the units, but they do require that they can be installed if needed. So we put the blocking on the walls so that they can be installed at a later date. The 8 ANSI A units are much more adaptable. They're designed for somebody that is in a wheelchair or needs to be in a wheelchair, either short or long term, to be able to fully use those units. It includes knee space where you need it under sinks and vanities, and within the kitchen, knee space under the kitchen sink, lower counter heights, and a knee space adjacent to the stove where you can roll in and access the stove.
I'm putting my email in the chat if anybody has additional questions that we don't get to today. Cynthia has a good question about how APA decides when a development will be for seniors, and what the COA can do to encourage more developments like this. So for this project in particular, it's part of a larger campus, right? And so the idea was that there would be multi-generational, different various income levels, and just have a very diverse campus, which I think is an amazing opportunity. And so that was sort of the decision here, was that we would have a senior project and a family project. And it has a lot to do with the scale. It also has a lot to do with market forces, right? So we have to do a market study and determine the demand. Obviously, with senior, the demand is through the roof and growing. So I think we would love to do more projects like this. It does also come down to funding. So that's just something that maybe COA can do, not necessarily fund the project, but encourage, the county to promote more projects like this and to provide additional funding when available, right? So that's something that we can all do.
Do we have any more questions? Yes, Kathy.
I have a question just about the intersections on 18th and Eads and 18th and Fern. A pretty busy intersections, a little dangerous at times. And I just wondered if there are any changes going to be happening to those intersections as older adults begin to live there and go down to Crystal City where there's a lot of restaurants and shopping and movies and those kinds of things. Just if there's any plan for changes to those intersections.
So our project doesn't propose specific changes for the intersections. I know that the county is doing some of that work now, and that there's already some larger designs at play. For Crystal House 6, we interface sort of mid-block. And so, you know, we're looking at, I would say, a relatively safe path for our residents. The project will also include the larger project, not Crystal House 6 specifically, but a bike lane addition. And so again, that's a larger scale. There's some county forces at play in terms of the design of how these intersections are finalized.
Yeah, I have the slides. I'll send them with a follow-up. Thank you.
All right, Jim? I wonder if you would talk a little more about parking, underground, spaces per apartment, et cetera.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. So we have, for this property, we have 37 parking spaces. It is underground, and that's what's in the building. There's additional spaces, surface spaces, I think about 7 or so, that kind of wrap around the building. The parking isn't we're not looking at it building by building. It's sort of a site-wide parking consideration. So Crystal House 3 will have you know, I can't recall the exact parking count for 3, but there's 199 replacement parking spaces that go into 3, in addition to, I think, something like close to about that same amount for 3 residents as well. So we are affordable housing nonprofit, so we don't and we can't charge for parking. So it's sort of first come, first serve in terms of what we provide. But the parking that's there on site right now, the people have to pay for them, and they're underperforming. It's a lot of vacant spaces right now, and so they have a strategy, the existing structures and how they manage parking, you know, based on supply and demand, and then what they can charge for those spaces. We of course don't have that. We provide what we can. I know for Crystal House 6, we're very focused on having visitor parking and service provider parking. So we're trying to figure out what that magic number is, and kind of hold those as best we can while still providing parking for those who need it in the building.
So Danny and Kevin, thank you very much. Great news to have more affordable housing in Arlington, and thank you for this very detailed presentation. You guys gave very clear, detailed, and obviously experts. And this incorporates, you know, universal design and you know, near transportation. So that's great. So unless there are any other questions, we appreciate your time.
When they're beginning.
When are you beginning?
That's a great question. Yeah, we hope to start vertical construction for it in September of next year. There will be preliminary work, moving utilities and that type of stuff, probably early next year. So like February, March next year.
And if we want to reach out to you for more, Danny, are you the right person for that?
Yes, absolutely. It's dross@appa. Sorry, I said .com. It's .org. I'm going to put that in the chat again.
Great.
And I'll include that with the follow-on when I send the slides as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. And
Thank you,
have a good
everybody.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. All right, now it's approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion? I move. All right.
Can I ask a question
Oh,
about the
yeah,
minutes?
that's
Yeah, sorry. The section on affordable requirements for elderly care uses, I thought there was a lot sort of missing. from that? I mean, we had a pretty robust discussion about affordability, the cash contribution, parking, and none of that was reflected in the minutes. I just wondered if we should include it for the record, that there were some concerns related to.
Okay, so we can, and you know, that's part of the reason too that we record the meetings and we provide the link to the recording.
Okay.
So you could go back and listen, but if you want it, if you want it as part of the record, we can go back and update that and then bring that back again next month for approval if you want to do, if you want to, yeah,
I
okay,
think that was an important discussion.
okay.
All right, noted, and do we have any other comments? We have a motion, any second? Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
So we'll bring that back next month
Yes.
for review.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries.
Maybe that was premature. So, all right, next, Chair's Report, Executive Committee. We also want to welcome the Honorable Michael Schuster, the Chair of Alexandria's Commission. So thanks for joining us, Michael. And had a chance to, I'm glad Kathy asked a question about potential risks to older adults. Had a chance to attend a Day of Remembrance over the weekend. And so, you know, Kathy mentioned older adult risk of the traffic. So there was a 71-year-old lady visiting from California and crossed Route 7 near Bailey's Crossroads. She and her husband were walking across the street. They looked left and right. Well, there was a wrong-way driver who was a drunk driver, hit her, killed her instantly on the spot. And so she was 1 out of 18 who died in Northern Virginia. And I believe 6 were older adults, and if you count people 50 and over, I believe there were 8 out of 18. So it's a great organization, Families for Safe Streets, and they had, they're obviously doing a lot because they had the county board members, Alexandria's mayor, Fairfax County executives, VDOT, Senator Eben, Delegate Tran. Anyway, so there was a lot. They're doing a lot of work, and they'd be great partners. And I connected Jim to them, and hopefully we can work together with them. And of course, also we're continuing to work on our legislative activity. That's one of our superpowers, and not only in Van, we had a great legislative meeting with the officials this past month, and Anthony and his team did an excellent job, of course. So much appreciated, and continuing to work with NVAN to reach out to legislators. So invite all of you who are interested to join on that. We reached out to them after the election, and because you know, to do more on traffic safety as well, there are certain limitations on what localities can do, and that was brought out yesterday. You know, we need more advocacy and legislative changes so that, for example, we can have automatic speed enforcement outside of school zones and construction zones. So, so yes, you know, expanding our outreach and networking, and that is something that we're doing, and we need to do more of. So, but this month we're excited to work on age friendly, and look forward to hearing more about that. And with that, turning it over to Maimuna and Rachel and Helen and our expert staff members.
Great. Thank you, William. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. I would like to welcome Delegate Adele McClure. She is joining us this month for the first time. I see you virtually. Welcome, Adele, to the meeting. Couple updates from the Agency on Aging. First of all, BICAP open enrollment is well underway. Michelle and her team have been very busy They have been not only answering phone calls and responding to emails from the office, but they've also been out into the community. Typically about twice a week that they're out in some community setting to make sure that they are meeting their goal to reach the hard to serve population of Arlington. I challenged Michelle to get to one new community this year. She, of course, exceeded my expectation and has hit at least two. And so, Michelle, be careful. I'll be raising the bar again next year for you. So, but anyway, super proud of Michelle and her team and the work they're doing. Charlie is a volunteer for us. Mike Schuster is also a volunteer for VICAP. And so just congratulations to you all. You're doing a great job. A couple more weeks to go and we'll have this open enrollment season behind us. So also would like to say congratulations to the legislative committee. The legislative forum last week was fabulous. I thought it was one of our best to date. Thank you to Cheryl for being the expert moderator and to Anthony and his team for creating all the questions and getting the delegates to attend. We had 2 delegates and 2 senators and then staff from 2 other delegates' offices. So, and that is a joint meeting sponsored by both our Commission on Aging as well as the Alexandria Commission on Aging. So well done, everyone, and congratulations. The chronic disease self-management class is currently being offered at the Carlin. Galari was able to get a group together at the Carlin, and so they have completed their first of 6 weeks last week, and she will continue through the end of the year. But we're super excited that we've been able to sort of shake the dust off of this, and we're now post-COVID and have a group that's back together in person and learning about chronic disease self-management. So very excited about that. As far as the recruitments in the Agency on Aging go, we are very close now to being able to announce who we have selected for the developmental ADRC supervisor, as well as for the AAA nutritionist. So I hope to be able to introduce people next month, but more to come on that soon. And then my final update is, it's hard to believe, but we need to be planning for the Community Engagement Forum. March will be here before we know it. And so Rachel and I are starting planning in December. We've actually started planning already. We have the location at Lover Run and the date is March 20th. So if anybody is interested in helping us plan, please let me know. We'll invite you to the kickoff meeting we have scheduled for December 10th, I think it is. Is that right, Rachel?
The 11th.
The 11th, okay. All right, thank you. All right, and we're planning to focus the Community Engagement Forum this year on our age-friendly plan. It sits nicely in between when we get all the work done and before we have to submit the plan. So bringing it to the community and introducing it to them, I think is really going to benefit our ability to progress. Linda.
Are we allowed to have outside, like tabletop exhibits come to this to show, like for example, APA and their affordable housing, what they've got available, or other kinds of organizations? I just pulled that out.
So in the past, I believe resource tables have been available. So we certainly could invite some of the community resources to come and be present. And that would probably be a good draw to get people in as well. So great idea, Linda. Thank you. Any other questions for me? All right, I'll turn it over to Rachel then.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. And as we enter Thanksgiving week, just wishing out all of you and those you love and care about a very blessed holiday. If you are planning to travel, I hope it's not tomorrow when we get that bad weather, but hope you have safe travels, and just extremely grateful for each of you and the amazing work that you do throughout the year. So happy Thanksgiving. Linda, I saw your hand go up for the Community Engagement Forum, and I wrote you down as I thought that was signing up for the list. So it's in pen, so you will get the invite. But we are planning. Carlos, thank you so much. I will add you as well. We are planning our kickoff meeting December 11th from 11 to 12 on Teams. As Helen mentioned, we're going to focus on age friendly, and we did reach out to AARP. We're not able to get Joanne Jenkins, surprisingly, but we'll most likely have Rodney Harrell. He is the Vice President of Public Policy and very familiar with age-friendly housing, livable communities. And it really is, for those of you who have helped us plan in the past, it's a fun group. It's a great way to really shape our program. And this is one of the ways that we truly engage and hear from the community about what matters most. So please do let us know if you're interested in helping planning. And even if you're not able to make the December 11th meeting, we can keep you on the list for future events, future meetings. I do also want to give a shout out to Helen as the Aging and Disability Resource Center, really our front door to all services, has gone through some transitions. She has been sort of in the role of two different jobs of the AAA director and providing oversight to our Aging and Disability Resource team. So just thank you to Helen for all of your hard work over these last few months. I know we're very excited to welcome the developmental Aging and Disability Resource Supervisor very soon. November is Caregivers Month, and so I know many of us are caregivers, caring for loved ones, for family members, sometimes for our neighbors, our community. And our adult day program has 2 upcoming events planned for caregivers and we can share this via email as well. But on December 9th, the Adult Day program is leading an afternoon of care for caregivers. Caregivers spend so much time caring for others. It's important to take care of yourself as well. And so on December 9th, the team will offer yoga sessions, mindfulness, massages, just really kind of wraparound services for really taking care of practicing self-care. And then beginning in January, we will be offering a Caring for You, Caring for Me. I'm sure everyone has heard that Rosalind Carter passed away, and she was such an advocate for caregivers. This is one of the Rosalind Carter Institute programs. And so we're really excited to offer this 10-week program that helps to equip caregivers with resources, knowledge, and self-care skills. So we will share that. And if you are interested, you're welcome to sign up. But if you know someone who may benefit, we would encourage you to share it with your networks as well. Last week, we had our second robust task force to end homelessness for older adults meeting. I want to thank Audrey for joining us and just the great work that the Housing Committee is doing. We had over 20 individuals from the hospital, from the National Alliance to End Homelessness, from our continuum of care. And again, if anyone is interested in tackling this issue, it's very meaty, but we're excited to bring together a local group. And again, thank you to Delegate McClure for your comments and your advocacy last week at the Legislative Forum, and really having a passion and interest in this topic as well. With that, have some very exciting news hot off the presses. As of this morning, we heard that the auxiliary grant rate will be increasing January 1st of 2024. This is, again, thanks to the great advocacy of each of you, of the Legislative Committee, of the Northern Virginia Aging Network. But for Northern Virginia, the rate will increase. It is currently $1,934. It will increase to $2,391. So this is a big jump, and it's 15% increase. And so again, this is just thank you to your advocacy for making this happen. And then my last update before I hand it over to Maimuna, Jim, I don't know if you are on, but I'd also would like to welcome I think probably one of the newest staff members in Aging and Disability Services and ADSD. But Jim, if you are on, would you like to introduce Amanda?
Yes, Amanda Mayer is our new ADSD contracts manager. Comes with a wealth of experience in senior nutrition, tackling that problem, and we are welcomed her last week. So she has been bombarded with information from me, and we'll soon get more information from program managers. And Amanda, do you just want to say a couple of words, give a quick introduction about yourself to the commission?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I've had the chance to interact with a few of you already, and I just look forward to continuing to understand what this commission is doing and to working with you to advance your goals. As Jim said, I have some experience working with older adults, specifically in the nutrition space, but it's just wonderful to be able to continue kind of along that path and learn about how Arlington County is supporting the aging and vulnerable populations. So just super excited to be here, and thank you all very much for the warm welcome.
Thank you, Amanda and Jim. Welcome again. And Carlos, I see you have your hand up.
I do. So for the caregiver convening that you're having, I would like to donate a couple of door prizes. I think it's important to not only reward the people that are there, but also provide some incentives that are all about self-care. So just send me a reminder and I'll make those available.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that. And we'll share more information about the upcoming caregiver programs with everyone as well. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Maimuna.
Just real quick, I just want to say, hey, Amanda, thank you very much. Linda and I enjoyed meeting with you and with respect to your interest in the commission. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here again in person. I hope all of you are doing well. And as Rachel mentioned, happy Thanksgiving, whatever your plans are. I hope that it's a season of gratitude for you to enjoy your time with family and friends. And for those that already had Friendsgiving, hope that went well as well. I know that's a trend now. But just a few announcements in terms of, Helen and Rachel, they really do a marvelous job with all the announcements. But I just wanted to tell you something exciting that's coming up. And we're going to have a new social services board. And this is a brand new commission that this commission will have an opportunity to collaborate with. It has been in the works behind the scenes with our DARS and social services. So our social services board is really going to focus on adult protective services, adult services, and adult day in terms of older adults. Social services does go beyond, of course, older adults in that you have children and family social services programs, as well as economic independence social service programs. But it has been in the works for a while. It is mandatory that Arlington County have a board. And so Anita, Deborah, myself, and all the division directors in the department have been working behind the scenes to get this started. And it's taken all of the development that you know in terms of bylaws and charters and the county attorney's office, you name it, right? So that's taken about 3 years. 3-year process. So I am pleased to say that we are looking to get it started right after January 1. So we already have applicants. The county board is looking to appoint the members. We're going to have up to 7 members to start. They will have up to a 3-year term, I believe. And we will have a total of 6 meetings a year. And we really focused on individuals with lived experience. So we really are we've done some targeted recruitment for this board. And so as it gets underway, I would definitely like for there to be some collaboration, because this is an opportunity for advocacy, right? Advocacy of these particular programs that haven't gotten the attention before. Adult services, adult protective services, and adult day. You all have definitely been the advocates, but this is a nice, it strengthens, it enhances our opportunities. So that, stay tuned for that, but I think the appointees are going to come about, if it's the December county board meeting, but I'll check back with you on that. Any questions?
No, we look forward to working with them next time.
Great. And then just finally, I mentioned last month that we were having an open house for the 1212 Urban Street. We had the open house, and I'm curious, Andrea, did you get a chance to stop by? Andrea Walker? She's on mute.
No, I'm sorry. No, I didn't, and I really had wanted to. Is that, and so if there ever is another chance, please let me know. But yes.
Well, the long-term care residents liaison committee had a chance to host their meeting there. So we did have some commissioners who were able to be there. So things are getting underway for 1212 Urban Street, and the provider is still hiring up. We expect by next month, January, things will be fully staffed. And then on the 4th floor of our building, we are going to have an open house on December 7th. I think I have to get the times. I believe the start time is 10 a.m., but it's going to be a new employment readiness center for developmental services. And so the idea is to do more, opportunities with employers and the DD community. And that's going to be their hub to kind of get, training and then set out in the community. So you might be familiar with the former lab space, we called it, on the 4th floor, which is right across from our lobby. It's been vacant for, I think, all of the pandemic years.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's being outfitted, and December 7th, we're going to have an open house to debut it. So we will send out that invitation very, very soon. That's all I have. Any questions? Thank you all.
All right, next on the agenda is the break. We're not doing any exercises, I assume.
Why not?
Unless we're volunteers, we want to leave that.
We could. I think the two that were chosen were me and Erica.
Erica's here.
Stand up.
Stand up and stretch? Yeah, right. All right, everybody, please stand up. And stretch. Don't hurt each other.
Squats are the #1 exercise for.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yep. Stand up and go to the restroom.
Okay.
You're gonna jog anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna take a 10-minute break.
It works. I think this is the first time we've ever taken a 10-minute break since I've been.
Me too. I've been here like 2 years.
See, we're making progress.
Hello? William? Hello?
Hi, Claire. We're taking a break at this time and we'll resume in about 9 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to make a comment, and I don't know if I'll be able to. Helen, is that you? Helen?
So Helen may not be able to hear you. This is Michelle Thomas. Do you want to put your comment in the chat?
Hi, this is Claire. We've met. I mean, you probably don't remember me, but we've met. I wanted to extend kudos onto what Maimuna said, because Franchetta, the front desk staffer, is leaving soon, and I wanted to extend my kudos to her because she does a wonderful job. And I'm so sorry to see her step into retirement, but apparently she may be coming back a few days a week, and I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, thank you so much, Claire. I will pass that along.
Yeah, because since I'm on the phone, it's hard, and I'm not a member, but would you please, Michelle, pass that on to Maimuna, because Franchetta is really 1 in 1,000, I think.
Absolutely. And you're also welcome to send Maimouna an email if you like, but I'll pass that along.
Okay, I'll do that too. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
There we go.
All right, Helen said cocktail hour is over.
Where were the cocktails?
Back to work.
A virtual cocktail.
Virtual cocktail, yes.
Darn.
So,
Yeah, really. I need a cup of coffee.
yes, we need more of that. Coffee and donuts.
Oh.
So our next topic is age-friendly Arlington work session. And so we had a chance to discuss the age-friendly plan, and of course we have we have Cynthia and Kathy who are leading the age-friendly committee. And so each of the committees is developing some high-level talking points. We received a few from housing, long-term care, transportation. Did I miss anyone? And perhaps in that order, can we get those committees to give us a readout of what you're looking at and get some feedback from our colleagues here? Housing, would you like to start with your high-level bullets?
I can't, do we have?
I have a copy if you want.
No, I have them, but
You have them, okay.
I thought we were gonna have a slide of them so that everybody could see them. No? Okay. Housing has 3 main goals for the year. One focuses on affordable housing and support for existing housing. One focuses on supportive services and tools to help Arlingtonians remain in their homes safely and independently. And that includes universal design, among other goals. Following in there is where we were going to try to push for the real estate tax relief review, which is long overdue. Look at assistive technologies and, okay, that's not very readable, but it's okay. It's all right, I got them. And our third goal is to promote the development of affordable assisted living units, which is a long shot, but important. Looking at greenhouses as a potential for this area, which is a little challenging because of the real estate values. Advocate at the state level for enabling ordinances that would allow us to set aside units in assisted living buildings, which we cannot do now. And advocating for more set-asides for low-income older adults in assisted living, of which we have essentially none, I think. So we are in need for affordable housing, affordable assisted living, and looking at ways to keep people in their homes safely.
That's for sure.
And so it's mostly an advocacy role.
Yeah.
Because there's very little we can do except keep telling people what's going on and showing them the data and trying to encourage them to be supportive.
Excellent. Do we have any questions, comments from our members here? Yes, Erica.
Yes, I would thank you, Audrey, for that overview. And I was just going to say that one thing that we learned when we were doing the universal design checklist is that, and we knew this, of course, but where all the action is in the site plan review committees. And the lesson for us is that we have to be there and use these tools and make our voice heard if we want to make these changes, just like we have to do on the state level. So that's a lot of work. So we're anticipating a lot of that kind of presence in the housing committee.
Right, and including an email to Danny Ross with the list saying there are things that they're doing that I requested, like putting tubs in the bathrooms for seniors that don't make sense. So we're going to start working on that immediately.
They're not rolling bathtubs.
Rolling bathtubs.
So, are there any significant changes from the last plan?
A little more focused and more push for advocacy as opposed to us actually being able to accomplish things in a hands-on way.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I noticed as well. I have focused on advocacy, and there were a lot of details on what you are advocating for, so that's really great. Do you feel you have enough members, either commissioners or public members to achieve these?
No.
Who are your current commissioners who are on the housing committee?
Anthony. But I would very much like either a vice chair or a co-chair would be very helpful. And the more members, the better. We can certainly use more help.
So
we do want to be tracking more developments and coordinating better with the Housing Commission, who are looking at affordable housing on every building that's going in.
Right. So housing for older adults, that's certainly central to, aging in place, making it affordable. So Audrey has a plea for help. So please join, and housing is,
We're a very good active group,
yeah.
and we meet online.
Yeah.
It's
So-
just the two of you right now? Just you and Anthony?
Two
In terms of
commissioners.
commissioners,
Yeah. Who else do you have?
and then we just have members like Erica and Claire and
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Cindy.
Yeah, Cindy is very active.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I mean, we have a informal list.
Yeah, a lot of dedicated people, but yeah, more commissioners.
So we're not an official committee, we're a group.
Right.
Because I can't get people to attend in person, so we can't be a bona fide committee.
Right, that's fine, but we have 13 on the rolls, and so we need more people to focus, so please help out. Andrea, you have a question?
We have a question.
Okay.
It's not a question, it's more of, just not an observation, maybe a warning, is that I went and I had visited a co-housing a home in Leesburg. If you guys remember, at maybe an October, September commission meeting, a member from the audience had talked about a co-housing option, and in where that a group, of seniors would go and rent a house together. And I believe that the organization is called Perch Houses. Anyway, I went to look at it, the house in Leesburg, and it was definitely for the younger cohort of 55 plus. But what I did want to mention was that I invoked the commission in the sense that, Audrey, I'm sorry, but I said, they really should go and recognize universal design, and that, and that it was certainly fine for them to go and to contact you for, to get, what's currently available. So anyway, so I needed to let you know. But I also thought it was an interesting concept, and one that will evolve.
Yes, and I have met with them, and they have a copy of our universal design document, so.
Perfect. You're wonderful.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
so thank you, Andrea. Yeah, shared housing is a hot topic, and you don't have to build new housing, and so last week there was a webinar on it, so I'll share the link out to Helen, and if anyone's interested, they can certainly view that. Roland, I believe you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I just had I guess it's like a comment. Audrey, I guess we don't have anyone on the Commission on Aging who also serves on the Housing Commission.
Correct.
So I know that Kellum is very, very active in establishing committees. So I'm just wondering if we could prevail upon the Housing Commission to have a committee or subcommittee on senior housing.
He currently doesn't have committees.
Well, he had one on discrimination, because I see.
Yeah, right now, because I've met with him.
Okay,
And he was interested in how we are broken up into committees.
so maybe he did away with his committees, because in the past he had a committee on discrimination, and I served, even though I was on the Human Rights Commission, I served on that committee. So
I guess what I'm trying to figure out, is there a way that we can establish with the Housing Commission some sort of liaison, so that when they're looking at proposals, that they can also solicit input from us on all their proposals.
Right. And I've talked to Kellen about us communicating so that we can support them whenever there's something senior housing related.
Right.
And so we're in touch about which projects we should be looking at.
Yeah. So if you need someone to work with you on it, I'll be willing.
That would be great. I'm happy to sign you up.
Yeah, and also, do we have anyone who serves on the planning commission? Because I noticed from some of because I get a lot of Arlington newsletters. Sign up for too many, I think. And I always notice that the planning commission has site review committees, like what Erica was saying, and obviously the planning commission has a say in a lot of these things. I mean, they may even have a bigger say than the housing commission, pretty much on those things. So maybe in some way we should establish some sort of rapport with the planning commission.
Yeah, I love it, Eric.
Yes, that's right.
For our universal design checklist, we did meet with 2 planning commission members, and that's where they told us, they advised us that for the checklist, we weren't going for their approval. Rather, they would recognize and applaud the tool, and we would use it. So they were very, it was a very beneficial meeting. But I think you're right, Roland, both on the Housing Commission and the Planning Commission, the liaisons and the more contact, the better.
Yeah, so thank you, Roland, for, but thank you, Roland, for that. That's, you're activist, obviously, at heart, and so, very wise recommendations. It looks like we're doing it, as Erica noted, and we need to do more of it, so I'd be interested in doing more of that as well, so.
Count on me, Andre.
And,
Thank you.
So, Rachel, please.
Yes, just want to thank Audrey for the great work that she and the committee have been doing. And just 2 things. So for the auxiliary grants, they are available in Arlington, mostly concentrated to Culpeper Garden Assisted Living, Culpeper Garden 3, as well as Mary Marshall. So there are some auxiliary grant units in Arlington, but they are very limited. And then the second thing as well is the increase in homelessness that we're seeing among older adults. And that's a whole kind of beast in and of itself. But just the increasing number of rents, the lack of affordable units creates housing instability. And with that, our Aging and Disability Resource Center has been seeing more requests for shelter, more requests for financial assistance to prevent evictions. And so looking at elevating the issue of homelessness is something that we're not the only locality that's seeing this. And at the federal level, HUD, as well as Health and Human Services. So HUD and HHS have released, or last week they had a session around something called the Housing and Services Partnership Accelerator. They plan to choose 4 states to be sort of a pilot receiving technical assistance. Unfortunately, a state unit has to apply for this. And I joined the call last week along with a partner from our continuum of care. And I didn't see Virginia represented, so I don't know if they'll be selected. But what is promising is that at the federal level, there's potential to use Medicaid dollars for some of the housing relief programs. So this may be an opportunity for affordable assisted living, and also to address the increase in homelessness that we're seeing with older adults. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, so there are a lot of opportunities in the housing commissions, very important goals. So if, I guess I would recommend, since we have certain people who are working on this, perhaps kind of triage what the major goals are, and because you have a lot of great goals, but in order to accomplish them.
We also have 5 years or 4 years
Right,
essentially to do them, and I don't see us necessarily working on everything every year so that we don't split ourselves too thin.
Okay, very good, thank you. Long-term care, Maimuna or Charlie, would you like to?
Charlie.
Charlie, okay. You've been nominated,
Sure.
Charlie.
Sure, we have a group that's really only met once, and we have the recommendations we have are very preliminary, but I think they're in the right direction. The people on my group, it's not quite well defined yet, but the people who have expressed interest in it are Cindy Schneider, Claire Jacobson, Linda, Ann Herman, and Erica Wood, who's on every committee under God's green earth. And we have 3 goals drafted so far, and this focuses on long-term care residences. And we decided that there really needs to be a very clear focus on long-term care residences because it wasn't really addressed at all in the last age-friendly plan. And we're seeing just real problems in our freestanding nursing homes that need to be addressed. And while the county has not, the county doesn't have a lot of any regulatory authority other than public health perhaps over the nursing homes. There really needs to be a greater involvement of the county and it's using whatever persuasive and abilities it has to push towards greater encouragement and transparency. So goal 1, though, it focuses on something you've heard us talk about with respect to the greenhouse project and other initiatives towards what we call the small household model. And goal 1 states, support environmental design quality of Arlington nursing homes. The objective there is to cultivate interest and support for the small household model. Now, nobody can make nursing homes do this, and there's a lot going on at the federal level and a little bit going on at the state level to create financial incentives for nursing homes to redesign their buildings into small household models. But the county can do that too. The county puts money towards things that it thinks are important, and they could also create incentives in the form of, everything from real estate tax breaks to other regulatory breaks that could be incentives, but we haven't articulated any particulars on that. Goal 2 is to support greater community integration of nursing home residents with the community. And along those lines, I dove into the history of community advisory councils to nursing homes and learned that when our 3 freestanding nursing homes were built in the late 70s, all 3 of them had community advisory councils under an agreement with the county. But those faded over time because to do anything with volunteers, you need some staff support, and there never was any. So one of the objectives, objective 1 is to establish community advisory councils, and objective 2 is to establish nursing home and a nursing home engagement outreach worker to support them. That's a financial thing, so it's dicey, but it's something that the county can do. So we're throwing it out there as a first draft. And then there's a third goal. Third goal is to increase transparency of information about nursing homes. And objective 1 is to pursue limited disclosure of facility-specific long-term care ombudsman complaints. Another dive into history, I learned that there used to be facility-specific information revealed publicly about how many complaints against this particular nursing home. And that was changed some years back. The Ombudsman, Joni Latimer, had a great summary of the history of this that I benefited from, thanks to Erica connecting me to her. And she said, there was real concern about that because it can be misleading. Sometimes the better facilities actually have more disclosure of complaints than the ones who are kind of hiding everything. So it takes a lot of interpretation to know what they mean. So they pulled back on that, and the Ombudsman gives the long-term care residences committee general information about the number of complaints across our region, but we know nothing about particular nursing homes. So our thought was that, well, I understand the rationale behind that limitation, but for purposes of government-related entities like our commission, perhaps we should have greater information, facility-specific, under certain rules of confidentiality. So that's something we're throwing out there to talk about. I don't know where that will go, but that's a possibility. And finally, the second objective under that is to track and highlight nursing home ownership information for better public understanding. Now, that's an interest that's being talked about and possibly on the regulatory level, at the federal level, the state level, and we think the local level needs to have that discussion too, because the ownership and operation of nursing homes has become so incredibly complex and somewhat illusory over the years, with real estate investment trusts and private equity firms owning them, and splitting up the management and all the contractors, that it's a shell game that nobody can figure out right now, and we need to be part of that conversation. So that's where we are with respect to long-term care residences. And I invite more participation, and I invite anyone's input into any aspect of this to help us refine it, because we're really just at the starting phase.
Thank you, Charlie. Mauna, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I really have asked Charlie and the rest of the committee to take the lead in this way, because we've been knowing this information now for many years, and one of the things that the committee has worked on is having all the guest speakers to inform kind of where things stand with the state of affairs with long-term care. We've seen numerous articles, right, in the paper, Washington Post, New York Times, about the crisis. It's like an epidemic of long-term care communities. And we also experience it right here in Arlington with, the liaisons. The turnover is incredible. So I'm glad that we're looking at prioritizing long-term care in the age-friendly plan. I think it really deserves and warrants attention.
Yes.
I don't know if people realize that of the 3 freestanding nursing homes, there's a 5-star federal star rating for nursing homes. All 3 of our nursing homes have 1 star right now. Yeah. And that's not recent. It's been kind of trending in that way for a long time.
Do we have any other questions, comments? Anyone online, comments? So, Charlie, I want to thank you very much for that, and thank you for focusing on specific goals and objectives, and and for all the committees, if we can sort of identify who the target of our advocacy is, I think that would be great as well. Because there are a lot of touch points, but as someone noted, at the planning stage for the housing and the site planning, that being a hot spot for getting our input in. If we can identify the key leverage points, that would be great. So thank you so much, appreciate it. And Carlos.
Can I make a comment?
Hold on one second, Claire. Yeah. Carlos first and then you, okay?
There you go. Carlos, please.
Hello. I hate to disrupt the meeting, but if there's any chance I can be moved up on the agenda, I have to jump off the call a little early. So just move me up a little bit. I would appreciate it.
Sure. I think that, Jim, okay with that? Yeah. Okay.
So Claire,
I'm used to that as a matter of fact. Okay.
So Claire.
Taking you back to auxiliary grant beds, as it's mostly for, I think, for Audrey. In addition to the 43 or so aging beds at Mary Marshall and then the 30 or so at Culpeper 3, we have 2 auxiliary grant bed clients at the Sunrise at Bluemont Park. It's been there for a number of years. It's only 2, and the 2 clients are located in the James building of the Sunrise at Lemont Park. So we do have 2 beds in a for-profit ALF. I have talked to them about trying to increase that, but so far I have not been successful. And then my other comment, and I'll send an email to Charlie, and maybe Maimuna can comment on that as well. We, if at all possible, since we don't have a regulatory or enforcement hammer, I'm wondering if, with our goal for nursing homes, if we could begin or start a conversation, or at least have a closer relationship with the public health. As we all know, CMS delegates the inspection work to the state, at least in Virginia they do, to state public health in Richmond. And I'm hoping we could look into the possibility to have some sort of a closer relationship or conversation with the public health, state public health inspector who inspects our 3 nursing homes. There may be more than one inspector, I'm not sure, but I'm hoping this is something we can also look into and try to, if it's legal and doable, start some sort of a closer relationship or conversation with those state public health inspectors of nursing homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Yep, great leverage point that you identified, so hopefully we can follow up on that. All right, so we're gonna move to Carlos, if we can do that.
Well, thank you so much for indulging me.
Sure.
I will report quickly on our process and then specifically address the objectives that we have drafted and the goals. So we had our first meeting, and I wanted to make sure that we followed a process that allowed as much input as possible. So we did a brainstorming session and prioritized particular, I'll say, buckets of areas that we really wanted to focus in on. I took that information and drafted some objectives and some goals and shared them with our co-chair. And Roland had a chance to look at them, provided some feedback. And then we had a couple of meetings with Link in his group, because we know we're kind of joining forces now and becoming one. And so let me share with you where we are now. We are contemplating a new name for our combined group. And I shared it with a few of you, and so I will reveal that. And that is that we're looking at the Aging Equity Task Force as a new name to encompass all the different parameters. It's just a concept right now. So once I have feedback from our committee members, I hope that then we can solidify the name and create a brand identity behind that. So we have a look and feel to the work that we're doing. So that's the process. So let me talk a little bit about what we have drafted thus far. Hold on for 1 second. So I have multiple boxes here open. So for the themes, these are the themes that we're looking at. The themes are visibility, partnerships, and sustainability. Visibility, partnerships, and sustainability. Under each theme, we have objectives and goals. So for the first theme, visibility, our objective is to increase the capacity to elevate critical issues related to older adults aging in place through no less than 3 communication strategies. First goal being to support strategies to leverage opportunities for older adults to enhance their digital footprint. Goal number 2, implement training opportunities for local service providers and allied organizations to learn about age-friendly communications. And goal 3, create accessible and user-friendly tools to support local and regional efforts related to aging equity. Those are the 3 goals under our first objective. The second theme, partnerships, objective, create and implement at least 2 regional initiatives that strengthen partnership opportunities and cultural responsiveness towards aging equity. So under that, we have goal number 1, establish an out and about task force that advocates and defines policies for the development of LGBTQ older adult programs and activities. Goal number 2, support the development of evergreen online resources to increase the awareness of the impact and solutions towards mitigating elder fraud. Elder fraud and LGBTQ older adults are the main goals under this particular objective. And then theme 3, sustainability. The objective reads, identify no less than 2 opportunities that sustain strategic initiatives for aging equity. And under that objective, we have goal number 1, research and pursuit in partnership with local private, nonprofit, and government partners, opportunities to leverage and secure resources that sustain aging equity initiatives. And goal number 2, define regional opportunities to support efforts that elevate the awareness and visibility of critical issues related to making aging equity possible. Those are the goals under objective 3. And so right now, in terms of process, I've been working with Roland to identify and provide a rationale. So we've been doing some research about, what is that makes our particular plan viable, doable, and is justified through the evidence. So we're doing a bit of a lit review. And what's fascinating, and Roland, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you can share the findings you have around seeing aging equity as a human right, which I think is a very persuasive rationale. Can you talk about the Human Rights Campaign research that you found, Roland?
Yeah, yes. Every year, the Human Rights Campaign does what is called a municipality equality survey. And it picks localities all across the country. It does research into what that locality does in the furtherance of LGBTQ+ rights, and then it provides a review of it, and it does an index where it has identified certain services, look and see how that municipality is done, and then actually grades that municipality on it. Arlington has been one that they have looked at for several years, and Arlington this year, as it has for the last 3 years, has scored a 100 out of 100. So Arlington has fared very well so far as their municipality index is concerned, but at the same time, Arlington does not fare well in certain basic services. And the same is true pretty much of Alexandria, Fairfax County. If you look at over in Maryland, Rockville, you look at over in PG County, you look at Bowie, there are certain things that municipalities are not doing. For Arlington, one of the areas where we really, according to the index, has a deficiency is in providing services to the LGBTQ senior community. Also, providing services to LGBTQ youth. So what we're going to do is look at what it is that we're not doing and see if we can identify what it is and do what we have to do in order to make sure that we are providing those necessary services.
Thank you, Roland. What's pretty distressing about this, because there used to be programming, but since COVID, they're gone. And I have been asking the question, and I remember when we organized the debate or the community awareness and conversation that we had with the county board candidates, there was a question that was addressed to the entire panel there, and none of them knew that. So the fact that those people who are now elected didn't know that is shameful, and we need to correct that. And so to address Jim's question on the chat, it is the Aging Equity Task Force. That's the conceptual name. We haven't actually voted on that, but we'll move in that direction. And that is our summary of what we've been doing for the last month and a half.
All right, thank you, Carlos and Roland. And thanks for looking at the data, and please keep us updated. And who do you have, which commissioners do you have on your combined task force?
Well, I believe we have several actually, but to your immediate right is you have C. Roland and myself. And I'm getting stumped now in terms of all the other commissioners, but we have several partners that are part of the effort.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Great. Let us know if you need people to work on your.
Yes, but the other question should be really about who are the new partners that we're bringing on to the task force, And specifically, we're going after partners that have the correct connections to fund what we want to get accomplished. So we're being very strategic.
Excellent. All right. Any questions, thoughts, comments? Hearing none, we're gonna move on. Thank you, Carl. All right, Jim, thanks for your patience as usual.
Okay, rather than talking into this post, I'm gonna stand up, go to the front, since I do have buggrass.
Thanks, Jim.
I think I do.
Yeah, you do. I just have to get them.
The members, the only two commission members on the committee are myself and William, of course. We also have Herschel, Jim Feaster, Joan, and Wendy, and Emily. So we have a reasonable number, but we need a lot more if we're going to cover this large area. We have really 4 goal areas, and the goal areas are safety, accessibility, affordability, and understanding or clarity. From these 4, we're going to put together a number of projects over the 5-year period, and I'll show you the 4 that we'll start with. We'll continue to collect and evaluate data from Transportation Commission, Vision Zero, Transit, Bicycle MP and Bike Arlington, Pedestrian Committee and Walk Arlington, studies and reports, and those are reports from both the county and COG, and sometimes even national. We had 2 national comment studies that we participated in a couple of years ago. And of course, volunteer transportation services, and Wendy and Emily figure bigger and big, largely in that. The second mode of collection are the outreach sessions, and we have conducted them over 3 or 4 years, but we have really collected more in the past year, and you can see those listed to the right. And then finally, out of all the data, all the information and issues that we collect from all of these, we will put together projects. And the strategies and plans that we have particularly dealt with for this time are the Plan Langston Boulevard, Arlington Transit Strategic Plan, and South George Mason Multimodal Plan. All of these are really well done, and we have tracked them pretty well, but we're not going to be finished with them when the plan is finished, because the devil or the angel is in the details. And so all of these 3 plans are going to have a lot of details that will unfold as we start execution. All right, so out of all of this, we've developed 4 projects that we're going to start with. The first is sidewalk conditions. We're going to look heavily at that. We have started looking at that. Crossing signals, letters, and we have 1 letter that you have, I think, in front of you that we have requested for today, and I'll talk about that. And then advocacy, which is transportation advocacy, which is being worked up by Wendy and Emily, and that will be more detailed as we go along. Okay, you want to go to the next one? This is just an example of the kinds of things that we're going to be doing. This is the sidewalk conditions. And I think number 1 on conditions are simply where the sidewalk system breaks down. And we have huge gaps, particularly in neighborhoods. And these are neighborhoods where there's a lot of aging in place. So when you have a gap, what happens is that it's bad enough that people have to walk in the gutters, but residents have plantings that go way over what should be the sidewalk and even what should be the gutter. And so that forces people farther out toward the middle of the road. Now, Jim Feaster has dealt with these kinds of problems for a long time in the neighborhood plan, the neighborhood projects. The problem is that the way the county gets money for this to put in sidewalks is a program called neighborhood programs, and there is almost no funding available in it. It's very, very slight in funding. Plus, any 40% of residents along this road can negate it, can cancel it. So for people who live, for example, people who live down here on Monroe Street, for example, down in here, people who live beyond Monroe Street, and Monroe Street is a real collective street for walking, have the say as to whether or not there should be a sidewalk. You can see the result here. No sidewalks between Monroe and Lincoln. Between Lincoln and Kenmore, there are, I'm sorry, let me start on this side. No sidewalks on the south side of Irving Street. There's a sidewalk here. Half of the this block has no sidewalk, and so you have to cross over if you want to hit the half a sidewalk that exists here, and you go all the way down. There are sidewalks down here, but as you approach Monroe, which is a pretty heavily traveled street, there are no sidewalks. And there are no sidewalks on Monroe all the way down to Pershing, which is, 3 blocks. So the Monroe Street, incidentally, past 7th Street, crosses Wilson Boulevard and goes right by the Virginia Square metro station. So it's pretty heavily walked. Now, if you look down Monroe Street, for example, you see this big juniper way out in the middle of the road. So that's a real problem, and it's a problem that can't be solved the way the county is doing it. So what we're going to propose is that the county look over all of their sidewalks, and the guy who can do this is Jeremy Hassan, who's presented to us a couple of times. He has a sidewalk map, shows all the sidewalks in the county and where the gaps are. And once they do that, the county should prioritize areas that really desperately need sidewalks. So that's what our proposal going in now would be. There are other problems, obviously, in sidewalks. One of them is the crowding of sidewalks by poles, by signs, by tables, by. Can you imagine trying to get even a walker, much less a wheelchair, through here? And of course, mainly in the bricked areas, there are a lot of sidewalks that just need repair. Okay. Yeah.
Jim, does the county already have easements on all these curb lines to do sidewalks? They don't have to go through any?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And originally, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but originally the the residents along the street had to pay a certain amount for the sidewalk to go in. And that was a good reason for them to say, we don't want a sidewalk. I think now that's not true, that the county does put the sidewalks in.
Well, how can 40% veto it then? The county has the authority.
It's just the way the county does that business. It's county rule. And one that we hope to overcome.
So we put our sidewalks on our street with that assessment you just described. And actually, we did have a small minority that was a little unhappy, but we ended up doing it. I'm wondering if the residents who are in these areas where you have no sidewalks would help you advocate, or is it part of possibly their neighborhood conservation plan to support you in this effort?
Yeah, the neighborhood conservation plan has been renamed to the neighborhood program now. But yes, of course, that would be if we can find people who agree and lobby with the county, that would help. Okay, so that's one program, one project. The other is crosswalk signals, and we have been working on that for some time. Audible signals. We have been given notice that there is going to be a meeting on that particular project, on that particular problem, sometime during the next week or so. And we're going to be invited to that to speak. So, okay. In doing this, I looked over the plans that Alexandria, Fairfax, and Montgomery County Transportation, their goals that William sent out. And one of the things that I've learned from them is that most of the communities that have this kind of commission or a body of some kind do a lot more reporting on what the county or city is doing than we do. We tend to report out on what the committee is doing. So we're going to broaden our horizons a little bit and look at projects that we should endorse that the city, the county, or comment on. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Yes, and so we appreciate the detailed report, and you already told us who's on the committee. Yes, and if you could, identify the leverage points where we can make these things happen and prioritize, that'd be great. So much appreciated. And then healthcare, we don't want to put you on the spot, but we can take it up next time if that works with you. Or do you want to do it in the time remaining?
I would just say real quickly that Kathy and Kate have offered that we can brainstorm together, and we will do that. I was just jotting myself some notes. I think generally what it looks like for me is that we look at education of what resources are available on health and wellness. And then we look at coordination of care, both outreach to those individuals who may not be served or know that there are services available. And then that will lead us to opportunities for advocacy. So that's kind of a little bit of my thinking. It's pretty weak right now until I get the input from Kate and Kathy.
All right, thanks. Thanks for the preview. Do we miss any other committee or task force?
I'd like to just make a comment. A couple of things. It's exciting to see here today new faces, new ideas, new enthusiasm. It's tremendous. Number two, Jim, you showed great research and reporting. My point number, congratulations, and all of this thinking is so helpful. Number three, Our basic role, mission, is to advise the county board on things affecting older adults. Something I've always had a problem with. When I think about it, I think about what needs to be done and try to work on the things that need to be done. But I submit that our basic role is to create recommendations and advise the board where it will fix the sidewalks with funding, whenever it comes, etc. Rather than following my lead and trying to make it happen ourselves. My next point is that one of the reasons that the Positive Aging and Inclusion and Enrichment Committee is being merged with communications is for all the things we're talking about. Communicating, cross-sharing, Roland and Charles have mentioned cross-fertilization between all our committees and perhaps the other commissions so that we could all benefit from everybody else. But perhaps in life as well as here, communication is fundamental and key. What I heard today is wonderful communication. We need to be getting the community at large to be aware of the facilities, activities, things that are available to older adults.
Thank you, Lenny. Anyone have comments or questions based on Link's important points? So yes, thank you for emphasizing that our role is to advocate, to get the county board to do the things that need to be done. So much appreciated. Right?
We don't have the resources.
Right.
Presumably, they do.
Exactly.
And we can help them prioritize.
Yeah.
We've raised some new issues that need prioritization.
Yeah. And as you said, communicate, work with our partners, and get to the leverage point so that we can make some change.
Yeah.
Using activists like Roland. So. So Andrea, please.
Andrea, you're muted.
There, okay. I wanted to say that along that line is that with the walking school bus, for example, is to recognize that this is something that needs to be moved to APS. And that's our goal. And that, and so along that lines, I went and met on October 23rd with Reed Goldstein, the outgoing chair of the school board. And we had a 2-hour meeting and it went very well. And Reed recommended that I promote the walking school bus with all the school board members and do this in February so that it can be part of the APS 2025 budget. And so, and the intent, of course, is, to go ahead and to ensure that the walking school bus, is there at all Arlington schools. Now, I will say we still need, in the interim, we still need some funding, and hopefully we'll get a community change grant. The announcement of grantees is going to be this month. But nevertheless, but along Link's lines is that, this is what, we're hoping for with the walking school bus.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions or comments for Andrea? Yeah, please share the date and time and for meeting with the board and so that our colleagues here can help out if you want us to join you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay, so next we have the letter. Jim, everyone has a copy. Jim, do you want to give us some background?
Yeah, this really supports two of the three studies that I listed earlier. The Transit Strategic Plan, and we've been briefed on this twice now by Paul Mornier. An excellent plan. It's a 10-year plan. Has some really fine improvements for art in particular. And the South George Mason Drive Multimodal Plan by Nate Graham, which again is stupendous. Goes into huge detail over a long length of George Mason Drive. We supported, we indicated our support for these two, plus we also gave examples from our outreach of supporting comments by older adults and problems that were similar or that fell into those categories. So I would really like to send this out. Oh, we also mentioned the Parks and Recreation's continuation of the shuttle transit that Jennifer worked so hard on. So I would really like to get an okay on this and send it.
Thank you, Jim. Do you have any comments, concerns? Yeah, we have a motion. Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion has passed. So yeah, thank you, Jim, for doing that. Also, just want to comment that outreach is great. Encourage other committees and task forces to do that. It was a lot of fun. We learned a lot of new things because, you know, that's our population. And so please go out to the senior centers and each center is different. Just chatting with Maimuna, I mean, each of them had different transportation needs, so I'm sure it's the same for housing and long-term care concerns.
And we could combine committees.
Sure.
Outreach.
Yeah, please, yeah. All right, yes, ma'am, Joe.
I would just like to add on Jim's report, the county board did approve the transit strategic plan on last Tuesday night. And that is a 10-year plan. It does have to be approved by the state. But anyway, the Transportation Committee had some input, and as Jim said, Paul, I never can remember his name.
Mornier.
Yes, did present it, so that passed on Tuesday.
Thanks, Joe, for all your communicating and liaison with the Transportation Commission. Do we have any other important topics? Any other topics, comments?
Just talk about the agenda just really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so many of you probably noticed the agenda looks a little different. One of the things that we want to try going forward is to have committees and liaisons submit their reports ahead of time. So we include it in the read ahead packet. And so that affords us to have conversations like we've had today. During the Commission on Aging meeting. So I have created a form. I will send it out to everybody. We'll be looking to have the reports from all of you kind of early in the month so I can include it with the read ahead. But that is sort of the direction we want to try and go in going forward with these meetings. So any questions on that or any concerns about kind of moving that direction?
Seeing none.
Oh, Andrea.
Andrea.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. And then, I mean, and is it starting this month? I mean, because I did have a report, like for instance, for the 55 plus, and I'm happy to submit it to you, you know, for the minutes, but what do you want to do? I'm sorry. Perhaps I wasn't paying attention and.
No, it is something that we just decided to try out this month, but didn't have the form ready to send out ahead of time so that you could submit your reports. So what I'll do is I'll send that form to everybody. You can go ahead and type your report into it. It's really simple. And then we'll include it in the minutes for this month. And then you'll be able to have it submitted ahead of time for next month.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Any other old business, new business announcements?
I don't know if that is in the chat.
Yeah.
We have a couple reports, one from legislative that we put in the chat. Thank you, Anthony. And also a report from Wendy on Arlington Neighborhood Village. We'll include these in the minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you,
going
Wendy.
forward.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for your great ideas. And unless there's anything else, I'm not going to prolong it. So as Rachel noted, please have a safe and happy holidays, Thanksgiving with your families.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.